5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I invite you to rise in body and or spirit for our opening hymn, gathering hymn, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place.
Mostly.
If we can get When Our Heart is in a Holy Place. Because I do not want to start handing out hymnals. Well, anyway, I'm Reverend J. Wolin, and we wait for that. I'm glad we are all here together on this Sunday morning, and it looks like we are ready.
When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we trust the wisdom in each of us, every color, every creed and kind, and we see our faces in each other's eyes, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we tell our story from deep inside, and we listen with a loving mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we share the silence of sacred space, and the God of our hearts turns within, and we feel the power of each other's faith, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place.
Good morning. Once again, I am Reverend J. Wolin, the settled minister here at the Unitarian Universalists of Sarasota. Yeah, it's all right. For those who are new and are not understanding why everybody's so excited, we just voted to change our name last week. So this is the first time I got to try out using the new name. Anyway, we are proud to be a progressive, pluralistic religion that nurtures the spirit and helps heal the world. We especially want to welcome our visitors both on campus here and as well on YouTube today. We invite our visitors to participate in any of our events. If you want to find out more about those events, we encourage you to sign up either online, where on our website you can sign up on our virtual guest book, uucsarasota.com, or you can sign up at the welcome table right outside the sanctuary. If you do, you'll get our weekly newsletter and maybe one or two other emails with Zoom links for events that are happening. And as always, we invite you to join us for coffee and conversation after the service. We look forward to getting to know each other. So we have a few special announcements today. The first, very sorry to have to announce, we did have a special musician that was going to play in service today, Tyrell Butler, and unfortunately we got a call that he is in the hospital, so he is obviously not going to play today, and we'll do an extra hymn, and I want to thank Don for being adaptable. He'll be playing some of the extra music today in our service. Also, I just want to mention at noon there's an interweave potluck, which is a gathering for those who identify as LGBTQ or their allies and accomplices. And even if you haven't brought anything, please feel free to attend. Also, I want to make sure you're aware that at 3 o'clock today we have a concert with Paul Duffy. And if you don't know Paul, he has played here in our services, at least in my time, 2 or 3 times, and really just a great entertainer, and I really encourage you, if you can make it at 3 o'clock today, come out and support him and the church and have a good time. And lastly, and I think this might be the last week of these announcements, BidFest. Don't forget to visit the BidFest team at the table today. They'll be happy to take your donations. I think that's a common thing I think we would say all the time. We are happy to take your donations, but literally donations for the auction BidFest. All donations must be in by 5 p.m. today. And I just want to share a short personal reflection. Last year was my first, then it was called some sort of serendipity auction, I think. But it really was very meaningful, especially my first year here. I won and was gifted a couple of the auction prizes, which often were dinners at people's houses, battling crustaceans, a moon party, we did line dancing. It was really, but it was a lot of fun, but it was really a great way to get to know other people, being new in the community here myself. So if you have the ability to offer something, I would do it. It's a great way to make money, to continue all the great programs. I'll be, very honest. It's about 5% of our budget. And so if we want to continue all the high-quality programs that we have here, we need to do that. So it only happens if you donate and you participate. That's the reality. So let us keep that magic alive, okay? The magic that we create here. And it is magic, and you create it. All the programs, I've gone to 2 or 3 programs just this last week here, and our work in the community. And it's our members that create most of these programs. So thank you. And I hope I can continue to thank you for that support. So please let us rise in body and or spirit for our next hymn, number 346. Come sing a song with me. Hello, test. There we go. I also want to thank Marianne Bowie, who is the chair of our Green Team, who is co-leading this service with me and has been integral in creating, you'll hear about Humanity Day. Our opening reading today is from Daniel Kamanga, Executive Director of Africa Leadership Transformation Foundation. Quote, "There seems to be something that is emerging globally. How do we lead from the emerging future? The future that is emerging, our leadership is being called forth. But it is not just our leadership, no, but our humanity that is being called forth. That calling forth requires every voice to be heard. Our humanity needs to come to the fore to provide this kind of leadership that is required. And everybody gets it. Whether it is multi-faith communities, whether it is climate action, whether it is climate regeneration, whether it is upheavals in so-called democracy, there is a calling forth of humanity. We really can't ourselves. We need to bring all the voices to bear, to be heard and to be seen. And so as we light our chalice, please join me now in affirming our seventh principle. As we light this chalice, the symbol of Unitarian Universalism, we affirm our seventh principle, respect for the interdependent web of existence of which we are a part.
Am I on? Can you hear me? There we go. Very good. So today's story, you've already seen the preview of The Invisible Web by Patrice Karst, illustrated by Joanne Liu, and I'm going to mispronounce his name, Bricusse, I believe. The very best news has ever begun to spread all over the world, one heart at a time. Shout it from the mountaintops. Every single one of us is connected to those we love by invisible strings. That means Giovanna and her daddy are always together, even though he moved to a new house. Omar can feel the tugs of love from his parents, even though he is living far away at school. And Mr. Chang still feels Mrs. Chang close by, even though she died a long time ago. And you, at this very moment, may feel the string of someone close to you, even though they aren't here. You can't see it, but it's real. Our strings reach out to everyone we know. They travel far and wide to families and friends and classmates and coaches, to bus drivers and babysitters, neighbors and pets and aunts and uncles and grandparents and grandchildren and countless other people. And all those people have hundreds of strings. Soaring high over the rocky peaks and across the 7 seas, deep into the jungles and valleys, winding through the busiest cities, all the strings crisscross one another and create a nest that covers the planet, interlacing us together and cradling us forever, the invisible web. The web has no borders and wraps every continent. Within it live butterflies and flowers, starfish and seahorses, lions and ants, rivers and snowstorms, and all human beings, including Giovanna and Omar, Mr. Chang, and of course you and me too. Some say it even reaches to our ancestors and those we cherish in the beyond. One tug on a string sends love to every one of us who are woven together in this divine tapestry. And that means just one good deed travels across the entire web. Everything is linked. But sometimes folks forget, and when they can't feel their strings, they forget about our invisible web. And that's when the strings get tangled up, like when lonely Louisa isn't invited to sit with anyone at her school at lunchtime, or when sad Stefano wishes his friend Marcos wasn't so bossy when they played, or when Mrs. Patel struggles at work without help and she just wants to quit. Even violence and war can erupt when too many of us forget the web. When the strings are ignored, they can become weak and begin to unravel. But the more people who care for the web, the stronger it remains. The web feels like every parent since the beginning of time, holding and protecting each one of us in millions of gentle arms. What could be stronger than all those hands holding us close? So many supportive fingers can always find a way to untangle string so that love can flow again. But it's up to every one of us to spread the word. Our time is right now. As we tell our families and friends, sisters will remind brothers, who will write to cousins, who will call their great-grandparents, who will just nod and smile as if they had always known this was the truth. If we remember the web and we tug on it often, no one will ever be left out. We will see others more clearly. The people of the world will look into each other's eyes. They will smile at one another. And when one of them cries, they will all want to help. And they do. Marcos apologizes to Stefano, who forgives his friend, and they even have more fun playing. And someone helps Mrs. Patel at work and tells her what a great job she's doing. She remembers that she's important and feels happy. And Louisa feels warm and bubbly inside when a few of the kids in class ask her to join them under the banyan tree for lunch. She knows right then that the invisible web is real. And after school, she cries with joy as she strokes her cat, who purrs the news to the stars, and the stars whisper the secret to the clouds, who share it with the songbirds, who serenade the world with their exquisite melody of love at the start of every morning and all during the day, until the invisible web glitters into the magic of twilight. The owls take over and hoot the news throughout the night. The invisible web is alive. Its time is right now. It breathes as we breathe, pulsating all over our earth, the single heartbeat of life and love. And do you know what that makes all of us? One big family. And P.S., I just love being right here in the very middle of this invisible web with all of you. Now I invite our younger UUs to join their friends and their classmates as we continue our exploration of heritage. Thank you.
We'll now have a video and then some centering music, and then after the centering music, we'll have a time of silence, and in that time, I would ask you to contemplate all the invisible strings that you have between each other and the earth itself.
Good morning. Next Saturday, as you've heard, on October 28th, is Humanity Day, a global internet-based event that our Sarasota Unitarian Universalists will actually be part of on the web. It will feature such notables as Lynn Twist, Peter Fikowski, Sam Daly Harris, and Daniel Kamanga. At around noon, the global event will merge with our Suncoast environmental leaders right here in this sanctuary. It's pretty exciting. I wasn't really sure what I Am Humanity means until I became part of planning these events. Because I am a long-term Unitarian Universalist, I operate mainly out of my brain. I spend hours thinking, reading, and conversing with lots of people. I explored different takes on what humanity means to everyone, until finally I arrived at what it means to me. So I'm happy to share that today. I was born a happy, joyful child. I believe all of my cultural and religious experiences separated me from that happiness, and that I have spent a lifetime regaining that happiness and joy. When I was a newborn in 1948, the world was still reeling from the pain and memories of World War II. I'm sure my parents had painful experiences and memories, but I never heard them mentioned. I never heard it at all. I was raised in a very stable Catholic family, 3 boys and 3 girls. My father commuted to New York. We lived in post-suburban heaven with one of those first newfangled TVs, a vegetable garden in the yard, and many neighborhood children to play with. My mother, who was a journalist before the war, was now directed to stay home and have children. Jobs were for men, not for women. We were good little soldiers and followed the rules that were in place. Shakespeare, continuously quoted by my mother, and the Catholic Catechism were my guiding lights and my authority. We had a yes, sir, no questions asked kind of authoritarian upbringing. Authoritarian figures were my human father and my spiritual God, Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. There were rules of behavior and expectations of achievement. My mother knew how to make things happen, and we knew how to request very little. So we had everything we needed materially. If I had problems, my authorities would have the right answer. Only those authorities were not looking at the full me. There was something missing. Things happened to me in life that were unexpected experiences that had no answers. For instance, my first friend moved away. Her father was in the FBI, and so they were gone forever from my life. I knew I had to handle it. No one asked me if I felt abandoned. One day, my brothers left me on the side of the road when I had begged them to go on an adventure with them. Nice guys. Handle it. No one asked if I felt afraid and anxious. Every night I had to watch my younger siblings, my 3 younger siblings, during dinner. It was my duty. Get with the program. Soldier on. My beautiful ice skates had to be given away when we moved to Florida. No discussion. Grin and bear it. My mother was pregnant a lot. There were many miscarriages. I never even knew about them till years later. When one little brother was born stillborn, my father attended the funeral by himself. My mother was still in the hospital. Wasn't anyone allowed to be sad? I think we did talk about humanity then. S is for soul. At that time, I understood my soul belonged to God, and because of original sin, it was dirty, and no matter what, I had to clean up my soul with regular visits to confession from age 7 onwards. That didn't help very much. It was not until I was 12 or 13 that I realized feelings existed at all. I was hurting when my lovely, happy Irish grandmother died. No one spoke about our losses at all. I remember sitting on our green sofa and reading another book. I lost myself in my books a lot. So my first important ABC of our humanity is F is for feeling. That is part of who I am, who I have always been, who we all are. Acknowledgement of feelings matters. My children would talk about their feelings. I usually responded by giving them food or an activity. Luckily, my children had resources. My K is for kindness husband, and they had the Unitarian Universalist religious education. They had a Quaker camp in Maine, and yes, they had TV to raise them. Sesame Street, Friends, and when they were older, 90210. I was very busy working and making a difference in the world, and I was missing the feeling part. I look at that time as the time when I had a hole in my humanity. Instead of W for wholeness, I had lost my J for joy. I discovered L for love when I married and had children. And my children turned out to be awesome. A for awesome because S for spirits are so beautiful. And they are energetic, and they are connected, and so much more. I was married when I discovered intuition. I thought intuition was a skill, as in my husband is intuitive and my daughters are intuitive. When my husband died in 2019, I experienced big feelings. I also recognized G is for grief, and E is for emotions, and C is for compassion. People, family, friends, and even strangers were all around us, and we were connected with our grief. We were O for oneness in our humanity. Maybe it was at that time that I realized my E is for essence, is really the part of me that connects with others. Call it heart, call it soul, call it spirit. I call it essence for now. I probably will change my mind tomorrow. I am humanity. I am physically here. I am emotionally here. I am connected to all that is. I am arms and legs and thoughts and feelings, and perhaps I exist in multiple dimensions of time and space. The D for depth I've gained through M for meditation has made a transformation for me. I have an ocean of new cultural and religious experiences now. My J for joy has returned. Maybe my purpose is to be here today on my soul's journey in this lifetime, telling you this. Or maybe it's just what it is and it doesn't mean anything. You can't see all of me, nor can I. I know I will still be learning my ABCs of humanity until the day that I die, and then I believe I really will know all. I know each of us is humanity, all of us, every part of us, and we are all S for same. And I know that humanity loves and connects with others. Humanity hurts after wars and disasters and is sad that the earth is dying. Humanity can also hope and believe that the earth will flourish for many generations to come. And that is what Humanity Day is all about. We have a choice to link our essences, our humanity together in hope and love. According to Dr. Joe Dispenza, in the book Becoming Supernatural, the greater energy you can create through the elevated emotions of the heart, the more you're going to connect with the unified field, which means you're going to experience more wholeness, connection, and oneness. What would happen if the electromagnetic field around each person's body merged with the person sitting next to them? Could those elevated emotional states then begin to produce a change in the energy of the room? Is it possible that everybody experiencing elevated emotions and energy could begin to create coherence within a community? And that was all by Dr. Dispenza. So now I have a request for you. Please turn to your neighbor. Even if you're not sitting with anyone, you can turn around. Turn around. Smile at your neighbor. Now smile, smile. Now take a breath. Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. And now say, I am humanity.
So I can definitely get behind J is for joy, I will tell you that. So now, I also want to invite you to turn towards your neighbor, smile, take a breath, and say, now is the time for the offering. Please be as generous as you can. For those online or those here on your cell phone, there's a link to donate, as well as a QR code in the order of service. Let this sacred time begin.
have been brought together by a common vision to form a new global alliance. We are the International Council of 13 Indigenous grandmothers. Ours is an alliance of prayer, education, and healing for our Mother Earth, all her inhabitants, all the children, and for the next 7 generations to come.
I read a story recently about a parent who was looking after their children and was trying to keep them entertained, but they were not having too much success. So it was a rainy Saturday, so they couldn't send them outdoors to play, although I don't know why that would make a difference. And the children were getting bored and antsy in the house. And so trying to think of something to do to keep them busy, they took out a magazine and leafed through it, and in there they saw a picture, a map of the world. And so they ripped out that page. I'm not making a judgment about ripping pages out of magazines. It's just a story. They ripped out a page of that map, and they took their scissors and cut it into many pieces. And then they gave it to the children and said, okay, put this back together. And then they went and got a cup of coffee, thought they'd have time to read the paper, but literally within 5 minutes, the children were back and they had the whole map put together. And the parent was amazed. And they said, how did you manage to put it back together so quickly? And the child said, well, you told us it was a map of the world, and when we looked at the pieces, at first we didn't know where to sort it all out. It seemed impossible. But then we realized that on the other side of the page was a picture of a person. And so we just put the person back together again. When we turned it over, the world was back together again as well. So, yes, it's ever so easy if you put the person and future. So what are the rhythms of nature as spoken in those lofty words of our sources? Well, our Unitarian transcendentalist forebears, particularly William Ellery Channing, Ralph Waldo Emerson, Henry David Thoreau, felt a reverence for nature. And they saw nature actually as a revelation of God. And they were able to, they thought, by looking at nature, determine how to live in the world. And so they would go into nature to find solace and peace. Even in the mid-19th century, at the dawn of the industrial age and urbanization, transcendentalists felt much of humanity had become spectators to nature. They felt being in nature had lessons that were imperative for humanity to learn. And I have to agree. I know it has taught me courage, integrity, and perseverance. I remember as a young child going on a 5-mile hike. And I was the first one to say, can we hitchhike the rest of the way? It's not like you can just hail a cab in the middle of the forest. And I did experience pure freedom in the wilderness, as well as the limits of that freedom. One day I'll tell you a story of the first time I went camping with my wife. It's a really funny story. So that's just a little teaser for a future sermon there. But that taught me the limits of my freedom and abilities in camping. But I learned nature can be a harsh teacher about our limits of humanity. All good lessons to learn about how to live in the world, knowing what our limits are, and yet still persevering for something better, even if not for this generation, for the next. Right? And I can tell you, anybody who's lived through a tornado or earthquake, or here in Florida more often, hurricanes. I've lived through several in my life down here. You learn there is very little you can do in the face of nature. Sometimes it's just flee. Sometimes it's staying and putting up sandbags. And often it's repairing the damage that has been done. And thus the same with our lives. Sometimes you have to flee, sometimes you stay, and sometimes you have to repair the damage that has been done. Yet, I do want to say that when you can connect with nature in a positive way, that it can be awe-inspiring as well. Even in the terror, I remember sitting, I think it was Charlie, there was nothing I can do. It took a sharp turn, came over. This is when I lived in Orlando. And I just sat in my lounge chair and just watched the trees going back and forth, banging into my pool enclosure, which later got destroyed. But it was awe-inspiring, even in its terror. But it also can be awe-inspiring in its beauty and pushing us to imagine greater things. When I was a young child, my parents used to take us once a year on a picnic to the Bronx Botanical Gardens. And in the evening, it was a particular day each year, because that evening, the New York Metropolitan Opera would do a free concert in the Botanical Gardens. So we would have a picnic during the day, and then at night, I would just sit there, laying on a blanket, staring up into space for hours, wondering why the performers were singing in Italian, but just sitting there and staring. I fell asleep staring at the stars every year doing that. And it was just majestic and peaceful and awe-inspiring, and really pushed the imagination as to what was possible. Now, the bugs, I would say, were not awe-inspiring. I will say that. But this is another lesson to be learned from nature, right? Sometimes we have to put up with some inconveniences to experience wonder and inspiration. Unitarian Henry David Thoreau, in imagining humanity's connection to nature, states, and I quote, "I trust that we shall be more imaginative and that our thoughts will be clearer, fresher, and more ethereal as our sky. Our understanding more comprehensive and broader, like our plains. Our intellect generally on a grander scale, like our thunder and lightning, our rivers and mountains and forests. And our hearts shall even correspond in breadth and depth and grandeur to our inland seas." End quote. It does not seem to be enough, though, for humanity to say that it is in our own self-interest to save nature in order to save ourselves. We, as a species, seem to be able to rationalize anything, really. Or deep down, we imagine that somehow we will create something to stave off the dangers that we face. Or worse, we imagine there's a country that has more dominance and resources than others in the world, and so therefore we will be better able to survive any fallout. But that is a fool's recipe for self-destruction. That is believing that our fate is separate from that of others, or separate from the fate of the earth. We must wake up. We must find wholeness. We must learn to love nature if we are to save nature. We must learn to revere nature and be grateful for the excesses that it provides us to live in the world. We must learn to accept that we are part of nature and not separate from it. We are part of it in all its beauty and all its grandeur, and as well in all of its harshness. And by recognizing that, we will understand that our future is tied to its future. We must learn to be in nature to understand the lessons that nature has to teach us. I was reminded of this recently. I was watching this movie. I love this about Hulu and Netflix and streaming. Like, you can watch any movie you want from like 20, 30 years ago. In 2004, I just recently watched this movie, In Good Company. And it was just an interesting juxtaposition at the beginning of the movie and the end. At the beginning, the character appears to be running on a beach. But then as the cameras pull back, you see he's running on a treadmill, and there's just a TV screen of the beach there. And at the end of the movie, after he has gained some self-awareness about himself and the world, the same character is seen running on the actual beach that was on the TV screen. The point being that not only can nature bring us awareness, but that awareness can bring us to nature. And so we have to continue to educate ourselves and others, and we must continue to act in ways that sustain our natural environment. We have to put the person right so that we will see the beauty in nature and connect to nature, and to realize that we are one with the same as nature. And then we have to connect our fellow human beings as well, so all can find this wholeness and all can realize that we are truly interdependent with all that is. So let us expand our consciousnesses and save each other. By so doing, we will expand others' consciousnesses. And by so doing, we can save our environment. May it be so. I invite you to rise in body and or spirit for our closing hymn, Blue Boat Home.
Oh, below me I feel no motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean. Still my dry land heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. Sun, my sail, and moon, my rudder, as I ply the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the lights of the heavens in our beautiful blue boat home. I give thanks to the waves upholding me, hail the great wind surging me on. Greet the infinite sea before me, sing the sign, my sailor song. I was born upon the fathoms, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home.
Reference to the graphic that you all have been seeing. It was actually developed by a 13-year-old, and it is the Lions Club World Poster Contest winner, and it was actually developed by a 13-year-old. So we'll close with that slide. So now, if you'll read with me. Community. Somewhere there are people to whom we can speak with passion without having the words catch in our throats. Somewhere, circle of hands open to receive us. Eyes will light up as we enter. Voices will celebrate with us. Whenever we come into our own power, community means strength, joins our strength to do the work that needs to be done, arms to hold us when we falter, a circle of healing, a circle of friends, some place where we can be free. Thank you so much.
Now we shall extinguish extinguish this flame. So please extinguish the flame with me. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Thank you for your presence here today. Thank you, Marianne. Thank you, Don. Thank you all who are here and part of this community.